We are Southern Illinois. It's time for Saluki basketball.
Shot fakes for his fifth three of the game. Nothing but net for Damian Mayo. Damian Mayo Jr., he's now got 12 in the second half, 18 in the game.
Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
Saluki Nation, it's time for another Saluki Radio basketball podcast. This is your Saluki Radio crew, the Hall of Famer Ronnie Watson. I am Luke Martin. We welcome you back in as Coach Watson from his home studio there in Evansville, or from the Wells production studio here on campus at SIU, as we will, of course, will recap another tough loss for Southern Illinois right there again in Banterra Center against the hottest team in the league in UIC, as they stay hot, as they have now won 8 in a row. And we'll preview another team that seems like they're starting to turn the tide a bit here as we get past the halfway mark in the Missouri Valley Conference. That's Illinois State, as the Redbirds will host SIU on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. We'll talk about that game plenty. There is no interview today, so it's just going to be us just chatting about the most recent game. We'll look around the Missouri Valley Conference, and then we'll close out on the Illinois State Redbirds. And Coach Watson, let's go back to Saturday night against UIC and why I think is where we need to start in a 68-66 loss for SIU is tipping the cap to UIC. We've talked about this team even from the get-go when they were 0-4, that there were pieces there that you could see that, yeah, this is a group that could really hit their stride. We just hope it wasn't going to be when SIU went to Chicago. And, man, the toughness level that they showed that we thought they would show in the game down 18, Elijah Crawford, who we had on the pod, we didn't give him any sort of jinx. I wish we did. I wish we gave him the podcast jinx going into the game. That was a guy that performed at extremely high level. He was the Ken Palm game MVP. And, man, when you go off like he did for 23 points and a lot of clutch baskets, Ahmad Henderson was good off the bench as well for UIC. I mean, they got a really good team, and, man, they showed that they could come. That was their largest deficit in Valley play since the opening 2 games when they trailed by 12. Really remarkable togetherness, discipline, and mentality in the game to be able to come back and beat SIU on Saturday. And I think that's where we should start. I thought that was the story. It was UIC really flexing its muscles and showing, man, they're on a hot streak right now, and they're a team that's going to contend for this conference championship.
Is it ironic we're doing this podcast, filming it on Groundhog's Day? Is that ironic? But
Yeah.
UIC really has got a good thing going, and let's kind of go back and just talk about a few things that are make it even more impressive. A brand new team. Henderson came back, but other than Henderson, this is a team that really had to put themselves together like everybody does in June. And again, Rob Eson and his staff done a terrific job. Obviously, they have a belief, and momentum is a real thing. And they found momentum in the game when things weren't going well. Southern did so many good things. I'm so mad at myself on our post-game show, Luke, for not pointing out, and we'll talk about it, just the terrific play of Damian Mayo, Southern's defense, making it so tough for UIC, who has become a better three-point shooter, much like Southern Illinois. And you got to give both teams a lot of credit for getting in the gym and getting better, especially Damian. God, at least 5 of 7. And what was cool about Southern, not to get off of UIC, how Southern was looking for their teammate. Even on a tough turnover, House knew that Damian had the hot hand late in the game. He drove middle. Damian kind of slid to the corner instead of raising up high, and it was no one's fault. Ball goes out of bounds. But even plays like that, even though it didn't go well for Southern, that's where you see Southern's making the right play at the right time. It just, as Jake said to us a week or so ago, sometimes you just have bad, dumb luck. That's a play, but UIC's finding their luck. They were picking up fouls. They were in foul trouble early. They got that flipped around the other side in the second half. Now, frankly, they got some breaks now. And again, I'll go back to what Ben Jacobson said to us. I mean, when you have tight games, there's possession. When you go back and look, man, that's just bad luck. And I'll point one out. And this was something that you were alluding to in the postgame show. And I don't think it was handled great at all. But like when Rollins got a loose ball on a long rebound in the corner in front of the Gucci seats over there, and he got trucked, and you put it on your X account. You had that play, and I didn't realize. And I can say, well, I got blocked. I didn't see it. But the reality is I didn't see him get trucked out of bounds. UIC gets the ball. Southern should be shooting free throws with the clock stop to extend that lead at the time. And that's not an excuse. That's not loser talk. That's not an excuse. That's reality. That's how basketball. Those are tough plays that happen throughout the game. But man, UIC, they don't let those things get in the way. They believe. They came in with a 7-game winning streak. They go home with an 8-game winning streak. Here's what did it, man. They know what they're good at. They're good at the free throw line. Southern was really good at the line. They shot over 70%. Something we've been calling for, and everybody knows you got to do that. UIC goes 80% on the road at the free throw line. They get the right guys to the line. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. They made them, okay? But the big thing, 18 offensive rebounds. And I asked a dumb question to coach, and he gave me the answer I deserved. And I don't blame him one bit for that. It wasn't so much about our guards not getting offensive rebounds. Our guards have got to get in the fight on the defensive side. You give up 18 offensive rebounds in your own house when, frankly, we were dictating the physicality of the game, especially in the first half, picking up fouls, so forth, which is a great sign. We've got to stay in that fight for 40 minutes, not to get too much segued on the problems, but it goes back to the 50-50 equation that you talk about a lot, Luke. UIC did something about it. They're like, hey, man, we're going to keep doing what we're really good at. We're going to get offensive rebounds, 18 of them, 18-5. Man, am I disappointed for Southern? Absolutely. Okay. Is that a critical point? Sure it is. Do the guards have to get better? Do the bigs have to get better? Do they have to pull it down? Sure. But, man, you got to give UIC credit. They didn't back off one possession. On the flip side of that thing, look, if we're not going to keep dudes from getting offensive rebounds, we better go get some ourselves. And 5 is not going to work in this game. And it's a one possession game. But again, at the end, teams that have momentum, teams that truly believe in themselves, especially a brand new team like UIC, man, you got to give Coach Eson, his staff, his seniors, they're playing for something that right now everybody's trying to figure out what to play for. And they are honest. They're truly playing for something right now. And it's impressive.
Well, and by the end of this week, they're really going to know. You look at their week to come, Coach Watson. They stay on the road. They're at Murray, so it was a road swing for them. So they're going to play Murray on Tuesday, and then guess who they get Friday in Chicago? Belmont. It's a big week for UIC. And if they can find a way to, one, go on the road and beat Murray State and then protect home court against Belmont, what I just said a moment ago of this is a team that is realistically in the – I know that may be hard for people to think already, but by the end of this week – they could really be in – I mean, they still can't technically because depending on what Belmont does, Belmont could still be in first, and there's all these other results, right? But I'm telling you, if they find a way to win both games this week, they're in a great spot. One, just because they are no doubt going to be in a really good position to just have a good seed come March Madness, but – it better be more talk around the league at the end of this week if this is a team that wins both games this week. I know that's an if. And you could say maybe it's a big if. But when this is a team that's won 8 in a row, man, don't put it past them, especially with how their continuity and just they know who they are and all those things are really, really important. And I also glad you really set the example there, Coach Watson. People think I drive this car that's known as this podcast. I mean, that just proved the point of where you took it and all those different areas. Like you're the true driver. I mean, I'm just here. I'm in the sidecar. You're the one that's really driving this thing.
I've been up since 5 a.m. trying to get my opening together, get it right, get the groundhog analysis in there, and then but really, again, I think you drove the point really well. I mean, this league is really good. We keep talking about it, and man, UIC is an example of it. It's just the thing that gets me about a team like UIC, when they sub in, Luke, where does the casual eye like us, where do you see, oh, there's a drop-off. There is no first team, second team on that group. I mean, Ahmad Anderson they were so smart in the second half, but they were getting the switch that they wanted. And the switch they wanted Rollins to guard Henderson. You're like, why would you do that? Because they watch film. They know the footwork isn't there. They know that switch is being turned against Southern. They were so smart in their approach. And Henderson, it wasn't just Henderson trying to go get buckets for himself. They set that switch up for a reason. That was a big on little switch. The quickness was going to overtake the size, but it was the defensive technique that they really saw. And if he can't get a bucket, he's going to have the hammer pass across on the baseline to the corner, which comes back to something that Southern did an amazing job. Hammonds came into this game just on fire, probably as hot as any player in the league. Southern kept him 0 for 1 from 3 with their other shooters. They made 3 threes. Southern is doing a tremendous job guarding the 3-point line. We'll get into some numbers later that you'll get to, but in league play, 11 games, this number isn't fake. Like, this isn't some stuff where you say, I can talk about fouls drawn. I can talk about plus minus, and there's times like, I'm not sure that really. It's kind of like non-conference stats. I don't get too excited about that. When you're holding a team in this league to 27% 3-point shooting, look, man, that is what it is. Southern is doing, and Damian Mayo, part of his fouls came from it. The last one he got on the 5th foul, he got held. He told the official, he held me. I called my eyes from Minnesota, Chris Carr. We were talking on the way home because he's so passionate about this thing. I go, what about the last week? He goes, oh, man, Damien got held. Now, he should have raised his hands. He should have known as a senior. You're in contact. You got 4 fouls. You're the hottest guy on the floor. You got to stay in the game. Get your hands up above your shoulders. He goes, that was the mistake Damien made, but you can't fault the guy. I think it was Hammonds grabbed his arm.
Crawford.
Curl. Crawford falls down, draws the attention, and you know how it worked out, and that was the last guy that Southern needed on the bench. And it's just, again, it's dumb luck, it's bad luck. And so, but what Southern's doing and guarding that 3-point line in an era where look, it doesn't excuse the record, right? I mean, but this record it's got me shaking my head that I'm tired of saying the Groundhog's Day, it's so close. I'm tired of saying it that way. Yeah. Golly, we're doing so many things to win these games.
Yeah, and to further your point, and we'll get ultimately to the stat we were talking about before we started to hit record in terms of the KenPom metrics and where SIU sits within the league, which does not correlate to where their record is right now. But to your point about Josiah Hammonds, remember the last 3 games, he was 11 of 17 from 3. Dude was on fire. He's a guy that's had 31 points at Belmont. 7 games making multiple threes. The last 3 games heading into the game on Saturday, he had 3 or more in each of those games. I mean, the job just to hold him to 1 3 attempt is remarkable. And Southern did their job defensively on him. And then another guy that I want to give a lot of credit to that I don't think we did on the air, Sam Silverstein. He's a guy that comes off their bench, and I'm pretty positive. I mean, I was rewatching the game. He was the guy that was defending that forced Prince to turn it over late. He was also guarding Jalen Haynes on the final play of the game to not foul. From our vantage point, I think I said in my call, I thought there was contact going back and watching. There was no contact. He did a really good job to stay with Jalen, and it was, close to being a spectacular play at the rim. That's a guy that made that critical basket late in the game in game 1, and like his numbers are not extremely eye-popping. But again, it's one of those guys that comes off the bench, and he made some really big plays for UIC down the stretch, especially on the defensive side of the floor.
Defense for sure, but how about his basket? His one basket. What was the score? 68-66. His one basket, a shot near the rim, an offensive rebound putback.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that just crush you. I mean, those are the ones that the film session goes back and forth to make a point. But again, back to my point and your point about our 3-point defense. Andy Johnson, terrific 3-point shooter, 1 for 7. Elijah Crawford, 1 for 5. The problem, 9 for 10 inside the arc. Again, a lot of times, hate to say it, but man, we've got to take a look at what we're getting out of this switching, because he's getting himself in ball screen actions. He's getting the mismatch. He likes a guy like that. But the 3-point arc, again, one of the equalizers in college basketball, a rule change years ago, decades ago, that changed the game of basketball is the 3-point line. Southern not only is defending it well, they're shooting it better, and they're shooting it smart. 6 of 13. The other made 3 was by Drew Steffi, who was 1 of 3. Rollins Aligbe, 0 for 1. But again, this guy's shooting 43%. He's 9 of 21, I think, in league play from 3. Southern's doing a really good job. They're managing the 3-point shot well. They're looking for him on step, and they're not coming down hunting them. but they're really doing a much better job. That is coaching, folks. I mean, I know who gets all the blame in this thing. Look, I did it, and we signed up for that. We get way too much credit as coaches. We get way too much blame, but the reality is we can handle that. That's fine. But the flip side is, if we're going to be on that negative Nelly side, you got to say, hey, man, this is an area where Southern has not quit on this season, in a spot where a lot of people in college basketball are buying their tickets to a spring break. And what Southern's doing and the energy that they're playing with, man, they're hanging tough. And I don't know how much longer we can ask our kids to do this without seeing some success on a regular level. But let's give them credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and as you said, Damian Mayo was outstanding in the game as we close it out here, recapping the UIC game. 20 points. He was 5 of 7 from 3. Just a remarkable night for him. And then Ron Zaligbe, 12 points on just 5 shots within the arc. He had 1 3, so 6 shot attempts in the game. Was able to get 12 points, had 7 rebounds for SIU in the game. Those are guys that, and especially Damian Mayo, I mean, what he does from a defensive standpoint, he knows and understands that he's got to stay in the game and look. And, to quote one of my good friends who I was able to see over the weekend, Josh Schertz, when you keep the game close, there's a lot of randomness that can happen. And that's really what Coach Jacobson was talking about too. It's just a different way to phrase it. But you have to do your job as a team to take the randomness out of it, especially at end of games. And what we're talking about randomness, it's bounces of the ball, it's calls that don't go your way. And what I'm alluding to is I believe it was his 4th foul that was picked up that was at the rim. It's tough to take. That one was really tough to take in the position and where it was at that time in the game, which then, of course, ultimately leads to the 5th foul of the game, which we also thought was a really tough one and already described. But my point is, and that's where you hate it, because when you see a guy like Damian play so well and guys were recognizing that he was playing so well and trying to get him the ball, because, man, that dude was just on fire. He was an inferno in that second half, a lot like it was at High Point. It was very reminiscent of that game for him. But, man, just no doubt the frustration Coach Watson was for the team. It's that when you allow the game to be close, and, man, Southern has been in so many close games. It's literally every game besides Memphis has basically been like this. It's come down to the end in the final 5 minutes of a ball game. And when you allow a game to be close, and this is both teams too, by the way, both teams allow it to happen. When you're in close games, there is some randomness that can happen, and sometimes it just comes up on the wrong side for you. And, man, for us, we've had to talk about the wrong side too much than what we would like to this year.
I really sat at the 6-minute mark in that game hoping that this would play out much like Northern Iowa, because that was a game where Southern, I think Northern Iowa, I know it was 7. I don't know if they got to 5 or not.
As close as 5, but then it ballooned back up to double digit, but then they cut to 7 again. And
Southern was able to answer, and I was really hoping that would be the case. Southern went through a spurt like we've seen too often late in the game, where you can't go 3 minutes without getting any points. I mean, you've got to keep answering, and good teams, especially in the hunt, the fight, they answer, and Southern's got to continue to find better ways to get Rollins Oligbe more than 7.5 shots in league play. This guy's your best player. I mean, it's Damian Mayo. We can talk about everybody's valuable. Everybody's valuable. But in terms of the one key guy, from shooting statistics to what he does on the boards to, just to taking up space on things, we've got to find ways to get him touches, being involved. If he's getting touches and they're doubling, which they are, okay, then you're going to let them double from the spots where he's just going to drop it over his left shoulder into a dunk spot. And it's not just that easy. I'm not trying to say it like that, but Southern's got to correct that in the last 3 minutes. They've got to, when the pressure gets up on him, they've got to hit him from behind with backdoor action. Just different areas of scoring and clear outs and 2-man games and putting guys in pickles where when they come off of that low curl cut and a big guy helps uphill, you catch, you drop off. There's 1,000 ways to do it. Side out of bounds play. I mean, the side out of bounds play that went absolutely haywire for Southern. The same play that UIC beat Indiana State on. We fell into the same trap, and instead of flashing a guy to get an open catch, and then the passer basket cuts, just face cuts the guy who's denying, which you can't do a thing about it because nobody can foul in those situations. The underneath out of bounds play, those things, those are areas you got to get buckets late. If you don't get buckets with 14 seconds on underneath out of bounds, you got to get the free throw line. Especially when that whistle's being blown pretty freely in that stretch, and that's not being critical. Those are just areas where, just like our 3-point defense, just like the 3-point shooting, just like different areas we're pointing out where we're really scoring off assists. I mean, both teams had 22 field goals. Free throw line, we were really good. We just needed a couple more, and those are areas where we can get this thing cleaned up. And there's 3 days before the conference tournament, and that's what we're playing for. We're playing to get ourselves in a good frame of mind March 5th, and that's where it's going to be, folks. I mean, it's going to be most likely March 5th, short of an absolute Hallmark movie that none of us would believe if we watched it. But we got to get ourselves in a spot where we're really feeling good when the spring weather hits, I should say, and we're playing some good basketball. And those are things that are extremely correctable.
68-66 is the final score as UIC outscores Southern 22-9 in the fourth quarter to pull away. And I say pull away, but just be able to eke out the win. 68-66, again, the final score. UIC knocks off SIU on Saturday inside Banterra. Before I get to the rest of the league and the games that happened over the weekend, this is what I wanted to kind of segue into that. And it's where just you look at KenPom rankings. And KenPom rankings, again, are not the end-all, be-all. I've been really using KenPom a lot, probably for the last, I'd say, probably 5 years for me, Coach Watson. It took me a little bit to really get into the analytical side. When you look at this is where, and this is the order of teams that are ranked just in court with all the different analytics that KenPom takes into effect. And I don't know if I've ever seen this. And I've tried to look around the other leagues just in the year this year to see. Obviously, SIU right now is a team. It's 9-13 overall, 3-8 in the league. Yet when you combine all of those numbers that we've talked about and where KenPom says, okay, this is where we think teams are ranked, Southern's 5th right now in the Valley. And I'm flashing it up on our screen too as we talk about this. Belmont leads the league in KenPom at 57. Illinois State, they've really started to improve. They're at 83 now in KenPom. Murray State, they're on a skid right now, but they're still hanging on a top 100 KenPom ranking. They're right at 99. UNI, who's Southern just the other night, played really well. And it was good to see, by the way, Trey Campbell come back and nothing major with him. 108. And then SIU at 128 right now. That is 5th in the league. UIC not far behind. They're at 131. Bradley at 138. Valpo 151. Drake 177. Indiana State 210. And Evansville 286. Yes, that does bring in your non-conference. It brings in multiple different metrics. It's not necessarily of where you are in the right here and now, but to further prove the point of what you said, which is you want to play your best basketball at the right time. And Southern's not playing their best basketball right now. They would say that, and I think everyone can see that they're not playing their best basketball. But I'm telling you, if you asked Casey Alexander, and we'll see after Tuesday night in Bloomington, but same with Ryan Peden, Ryan Miller, Ben Jacobson, even Rob Eson, Brian Wardle, would you be thrilled if you saw Southern Illinois as the team across from you at Arch Madness, whether that's on Thursday or you got to play them playing off a game on a Friday? There's nobody that's let's sign up and take it. That to me should give, I know our fans are down. And you know what? They have a right to be down. And it is no question frustrating and infuriating for them. And guess what? It's twice as much for the players and coaches. I can guarantee you that, especially when your livelihood is based on it, and you can relate to that more than anybody. But to try, and this isn't trying to sugarcoat. This isn't trying to make you believe a mirage that something is there that isn't. It's hard to fake those numbers I just said, Coach Watson. Like, it's really hard to fake them. And when right now they're showing that this is a team that's 5th, middle of the pack, and when you look at some of how the games are going, you're probably, that's probably where this team should be. But they're not. And that's the fact of the matter. They're not there right now. Right now, at the season ended today, Southern would be the 9th seed in St. Louis. But to say all of that, is to be the other point of there is some really good things inside the DNA of this team, which is why you got to stick together and find a way to stay together here as you get into the month of February. Because if you can stick together and then some of those numbers can hold true, there could be some really entertaining nights that we could have here down the stretch of this season.
Yeah, undoubtedly they have UIC wrong in those,
Yes.
and there's too much dealt with on non-conference and without having Elijah Crawford in there. But hey, look, everybody goes through not having people. Southern's been through not having people in games, but that's also what those numbers say. They also say, hey, look, at the end of the day, some of the things I pointed out about where we've really made strides. The 3-point defense is just, it's impressive. I mean, they're making it really hard for outstanding shooters to score. And that's hard work. That's repetition. That's good planning, strategy, whatever. I'm with you, man. It's hard to believe on that point. But at the same time, we all know, as much as fans, radio guys, all of us in that category, we all have a good idea of our weaknesses. Okay. And yet we really don't know what Rob Eson knows about his team. Sometimes you're like, okay, we got through another one. They didn't see that one. Okay. Or whoever that might be. I mean, whether it's Belmont or Ryan Miller. I mean, you look at Murray State and an area where, you say, boy, defensively, can that group hold up? All the way down the list. So, yeah, I know I'm with you, man. I know we probably just had a bunch of clicks right there of a click off. I'm not going to listen to this anymore. But for those of you believe your eyes, and it's also why, again, our passionate fan base, and my eyes go up now from my seat, and I see a lot of passion when things aren't going well, and I see a lot of passion when things are going well. Because our fan base, we know. I mean, we have great fans, and our people, whether you watch it at home or you come to the Banterra Center, they know what they're seeing. And yet we get caught up in being our own self, and it's our team, and we're more caught up in the things that aren't going well when that one possession goes against us. But we got to, if it goes back to my point about UIC, they believe in their bunch. Man, those guys believe, they're playing at the purpose. The toughest thing for Coach Nagy and his coaching staff right now is keeping that locker room together. Last point I'll make, and I'll keep it as condensed as possible. I heard Tom Crean, who does a lot of analysis on television. He was talking about Kansas and their great player. They have a great player that very well could be the number 1 draft pick. And he's had a weird season, and some, maybe whatever that is, it is. And now it seems to be a little bit of either a fatigue or an injury of some kind. But in their last game on Saturday, he had 18 points in the first half, no points in the second half. Crean was talking about, he was analyzing what goes on with great players and how great this young man is and all that. It's not the talent part. Here's what coaches are dealing with. Back in my era, you had 13 scholarship players at Southern Illinois, and you had 2 walk-ons. You had your assistant coaches, a couple managers, great trainer, sports information guy. They were in your locker room, and they were on your bus. Today, those locker rooms can be as many as 60 people in the locker room with the peripheral. And this is my point about Crean. He was talking about, you've got a guy that's fighting some fatigue, some injury, whatever it is. He was talking about the medical staff at Kansas. There is no better medical staff than a place like Kansas or Southern Illinois. We have the best, right? It's conveying that message with the posse, like the parents, the agents, all the noise out there, all the people, all the opinions that now are in your locker room. Where am I going with this? Not only Bill Self will take care of his locker room. I'm not worried about him. Scott Nagy will take care of his locker room too. And he's got to keep the locker room at 15 players right now, more than anything else. Right now, everybody else has got to worry about the 36th day or the 40th day, or if we have the Hallmark movie 50 days from now or 60 days from now, whatever your next thing is, you got to get out of the locker room for 60 days. And we've got to have 15 guys, our coaching staff, our managers, our trainer, our sports information guy in that locker room, that's it. That's the only voices, the only message. That's manageable. Right now, you can't manage 60 people. And I'm saying that to some folks out there I know are listening. You got to sit down. You got to move the 15th row. You got to be quiet right now because you're not making this. The other people aren't making this better. It's only getting worse. So just sit down, relax. 60 days from now, you can have as much input as you want. But for now, it's all about the Salukis playing for one common cause because that's all we got left on this season.
And our podcast is brought to you by the Hallmark Channel, the official movie channel of Rodney Watson. Just going to get this ad read in here. We dropped Hallmark multiple times, so
Well done.
Hallmark appreciates it, Coach.
Yes,
Watson.
they do. Good people.
No doubt. But your point, no doubt, very, very spot on, and that's why when you get into this thing, man, it can really change. And to your point, I know you were saying it jokingly, saying, hey, how many people maybe clicked off when you hear those type of things. The one thing that is clear, and it's why we still do this and we don't try, hey, we're just coming on for a quick 5 minutes and being done. It's because our fans listen, and we have really smart fans and really engaged fans. And I can tell you this much, even though, our standards, we know where our standards are, man, what the Flames would do to just have a crowd like they had on Saturday in Chicago and have that multiple times throughout the year. There's a lot of great things about this fan base, and it's why we continue to do this, and we appreciate you, Saluki Nation, in so many ways. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the Valley scores from Saturday. Man, there were some really good games, and the one that started off the day, man, another entertaining one, a lot like SIU, Indiana State is almost in that boat of games that come down to the very end and now trying to find ways to get over the hump for Coach Matthew Graves and the Sycamores. They just couldn't do it. A game that went into overtime against Valpo. Sycamores led by 10 at halftime. Valpo with a strong second half, and then ultimately just had enough in OT to win the game. JT Pettigrew was huge. 7 of 13 from the field. He had 17 points. Owen Dees chipped in 16 points as well. And how about Hopoi? Off the bench, 14 points, 7 rebounds for him. Now, he had some critical misses at the free throw line late, which could have prevented that game from even getting into overtime. But Valpo, a 76-72 winner on the road. Derek Forrest had a really good game for Indiana State, 14 points, 3 rebounds. And I know also some big misses at the free throw line for Derek. But, man, a road win for Valpo. And all of a sudden, Roger Powell's group starting to pull out some of these games, these were two teams that have been in a lot of close games, and Valpo got the edge.
I couldn't help but think about the luck factor. 1 second left in the game, a long rebound to Valpo. Hopoi gets fouled, and with 1 second on the clock. And as the broadcast team said, look, if you're an Indiana State fan, you're like, that's got to be a play on. If you're a Valpo fan, like, that's got to be a foul. And that's what we're talking about, just the 50-50 opportunities. And that's what Coach Schertz is talking about. You got to take those out of the equation. Indiana State got some second life. They got very fortunate. The Hopoi missed both of them. The thing that was interesting to me, you've got a guy, Owen Dees, that's as good a basketball player as anybody in this league. Will he be first team all-league? I don't know. Probably because where his team finishes. I guess that might have something to do with it, but his ability score is going to say it. Last plays of the game, he did not get a touch, and that blew me away. Indiana State's a team that's really catching the bad side of some unfortunate events. Do they make their own luck? Sure, that's a big part of it. But what a game.
Yeah, it was a heck of a game in Terre Haute against Valpo. Gets the win over the Trees, 76-72. UNI, they get back on track. They pound Evansville in Cedar Falls, and like we already talked about, was really good to see Trey Campbell back. We're worried for him because he went down early in the second half and thought maybe it could be the worst for him, but he comes back, 12 points, 2 of 4 from 3. Will Hornseth had himself a ball game, 21 points, 10 of 12 from the field for Hornseth. He was very efficient. Leon Bond was in double figures as well with 11.6 rebounds. And Ben Schweiger, who may not get a lot of publicity, but, man, he's really important to what UNI does. 10 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and only 1 turnover for Schweiger. and a 71-55 win. It was no doubt a tough afternoon for Evansville. They really were never in the game. UNI controlled it for the majority of it. And the Panthers get a win that they really needed, Coach Watson, to bounce back after I know what was a tough night for them in Banterra.
Yeah, we'll talk about this when we preview our Illinois State game, but it on a small sample size, Southern had that day off. That the snow day on Sunday off. They come back against Northern Iowa with a little bit, seemed like stronger legs and a little better will, and played great basketball. Evansville did the same thing at Drake. We kept watching that score. Oh my goodness, double-digit lead, and can they pull this thing off? And they couldn't. But then on the shorter turnaround, second game, I don't know why did neither team play great, and when they really had to down the stretch, hard to play at Northern Iowa for sure. Back on Campbell, 33 minutes is what really impressed me. I'll say to people, and I didn't realize until Luke had said it to me that there's a possibility of an injury with Campbell. But I knew that Jake coached a little different in that game. He had his entire bench in with I think Weisbrod was in with the last media timeout. He soon came out. He played his bench the last 2.5 minutes when he felt like it was too much of a possession game. And when I heard about the injury, all I could think was the look that my trainer would give me. Like he would just simply give a simple shake of the head. And oh my gosh, you talk about as a coach in real time during a game, how that makes your heart sink because of the possibilities of what might happen. Undoubtedly, now I look back and think, hey, they were taking no chances with Trey Campbell. They're bigger fish to fry other than that game. But yeah, really happy to see a great player, senior, a guy that's been there his whole career. He should be in the Hall of Fame alone if you can stay at a place 4 years in a row.
Bradley goes on the road and beats Drake 87-73 in Des Moines. And I can guarantee you what caught the eye of Brian Wardle was the play of Owen Larson. And in 29 minutes, he was held to 3 points, only 4 shot attempts. He was 1 of 3 from 3. Jalen Quinn had himself another really good game, 32 points on 18 shots, 10 of 11 from the free throw line. He had 4 rebounds as well. Andrew Aaliyah had a double-double for Drake, 13 points, 11 rebounds. But the story of the night was Alex Huberks, 10 of 14 from the field, 29 points. He made 9 threes in the game, 9 of 10 from 3 for Huberks, who, of course, was recruited by Scott Nagy to go to Wright State. Jaquan Johnson, he had 10 points, 6 assists in the ball game, only 2 turnovers. And then how about you and Wheeler off the bench? 22 points combined by those two. You had 12 points. Montana Wheeler, another young, really good player in this league, had 10 points in 20 minutes. Bradley pulled away from Drake after they led by 6 at halftime. They win the second half, putting up 46. That was a really good win for Brian Wardle and his group, which picked up their 8th win in league play.
Gosh, when you talk about Bradley winning in that fashion, you don't mention Johnson much.
Yeah,
that's a lot of production because that guy Johnson's a terrific, tough guard. But man, big numbers off the bench just shows that those guys their will is not broke, and that's a big part that you're looking for out of teams now. Whose will gets broken, who keeps it strong.
And then the final game of the night, which everybody had their eyes on, and it was not close. Belmont, and it's hard to think that the final score really doesn't indicate how much of a beating it was. But this game, it was a tough one for Murray State. 103-86 was the final. Murray State now 20 wins again. Again, they've won 20 games or more in the regular season, dating all the way back to 2010. It's an impressive stretch for this Belmont program. Is it a shocker that Tyler Lundblade, 27 points for him? He had 8 of them at the line. He only made 3 threes in the game, so his damage was not done behind the arc. He was able to make 5 twos in the game along with his 8 threes. Drew Charnowski, double-double, 19 points, 11 rebounds, but this is what's most impressive. He was 1 assist away, Coach Watson, from a triple-double, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. And he had 2 blocks as well. And then who else than Owen Dillon off the bench? 15 points for him. Aiden Noyes, who's been coming back recently and seems like he's starting to get healthy, 15 points as well off the bench for Belmont. But, man, there are so many. We've talked about really good players in this league. Drew Charnowski, it's kind of like we've had that player of the year talk, right, of, man, who's really going to be the Larry Bird player of the year? He puts up numbers like that continuing down the stretch. Man, I know everyone's going to go to Lundblade, and Jabez Jenkins has had a really good year as well, and he only had 9 points in the game. But Drew Charnowski's probably going to be a name and I think he deserves to be in that conversation because of how important he is for this Belmont team.
Yeah, Charnowski is such a presence. He's so big. When you see him on TV, it's one thing. When you see him in person from the seats that we sit in, man, he has the ability to get places. He's very physical, very physical. Illinois kid too. That hurts my feelings. And got to give Belmont a lot of credit. And if you don't guard them tight like Southern has done, if you give them space, and Murray gives space. Look. Murray can really hang some points, and we're going to have to deal with that when they come to Banterra Center, no doubt about it. And they got a lot of weapons. But when you can shut their weapons down like Belmont did, and what Illinois State did, that's doing something because Murray's a team that absolutely that can play in an NCAA tournament game. Trust me, the teams we're talking about, Belmont, Murray, UIC, in the conference tournament, that's one thing. In the NCAA tournament, shoot, those aren't 16 seeds you're dealing with. Those are some serious seeds. And that's the other thing that's really big about what you talk about, Luke, with KenPom and the net rating. And it gives our league a chance to have a real solid seed once it comes to the NCAA tournament, which is super important financially, if nothing else, but certainly for the importance of our league. And man, Charnowski's a big part of Belmont's success, but I got to tell you, those freshmen, redshirt or not, whether it's Smiley or Jenkins or Dylan, holy cow! You talk about some guys that have grown up fast and played at a high level. It continues to impress.
Yeah, the final score was 103-86, but in the second half, it was 95-61. 34-point lead for Belmont. I mean, it was, and that's a big rivalry game. And like you said, the Salukis are going to have to deal with Murray State here on Friday, which will be Mike Glenn jersey retirement. We'll talk more about Mike Glenn in our next podcast, which is awesome for him and long overdue to have that type of moment in Banterra come Friday as well. So again, Belmont gets that win. So now here are what the league standings look like as we are now in the month of February. 10-2, Belmont, a 2-game lead over everybody now. With that win over Murray State, they extend their lead by 2 games. Then you have 3 teams at 8-4. Murray, Bradley, and UIC, all at 8-4 as we get down the closing stretch. Again, UIC will see Murray State on Tuesday here, which again, that we'll get to that conference schedule coming up in a moment. Illinois State, they're tied in the loss column with those teams, but they're 1 game back in the win column just because of the games that have been played to this point. They are 7-4. And then you have 3 teams with 6 losses, UNI, Drake, and Valpo. UNI and Drake have 6 wins. Valpo has 5 wins. They're 5-6. And then you have SIU in the 9th spot. They're 3-8, 2 games back of Valpo. They are, of course, also 2 games back in the loss column. But again, Southern, in terms of with the Evansville game getting rescheduled, that kind of made it a little bit wonky. But then you have Indiana State 2-10, 1 game back of SIU, and they still get to see the Salukis twice this year. And Evansville still get to see the Salukis twice, but they're now 1-10 in league play. Let's look at the schedule this week. And again, this is a meaningful week, as we said, for UIC. Maybe if you had to pick of this week in terms of who it's really most important to, you really wouldn't think a team that's won 8 in a row that is in that type of spot. But, man, they have put themselves in that spot with winning 8 in a row. They are at Murray State on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, first of 2 games against teams that they are right around. Man, really great opportunity for Coach Esau and his group. That game will be at 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Our game at Illinois State, that'll actually be the first game of the night in Valley play on Tuesday. I'll tip at 6 o'clock at Sefcu Arena. Evansville, they're going for the sweep of Indiana State. Their lone win in league play was against the Sycamores. They will host Indiana State in the Ford Center at 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Valpo at Bradley. That game will be at 7 o'clock in Peoria. If you remember the game last year, that was an overtime game. It was a really entertaining game. Valpo on the road against Bradley. Valpo they're trying to, again, climb up. They're still well within striking distance of potentially being a team that could play on Friday. And then you have Drake at Belmont. Drake in that game will be at 8 o'clock as Belmont will try to keep their lead, and we've seen Coach Hindu's group, man, they will battle you, whether it's on the road or at home. And I think the last time those two teams played, with, of course, Belmont trailing by an extremely large margin by 20-plus points to come back and win that game, I think Hindu will have his group licking their chops and having a chance to go on the road and face a team that's leading the league right now. Man, those are big games on Tuesday. I know I really alluded to UIC's week, Coach Watson, but, man, if you're a Flames fan, you got to be ecstatic to have the opportunity that they do this week. And, man, really good games on Tuesday that we'll be eyeing and watching.
Best college team in Chicago, and I'm not making that up. They are playing the Northwestern. Chris Lowry's with them. I'm rooting for those guys. They're not having a great year. Brian Mullins, one of my great friends, also, and the Paul's in a tough league. And man, UIC, if Chicago can't recognize them, I don't know what you're looking for. The Bulls are just having an okay year. I'm not saying they're better than the Bulls, but it's an argument right
yes,
now.
You are.
40-minute game.
Hey,
it's an argument right now.
Hey, Rob Eson, play the Bulls. That's exactly what Rodney
Play somebody, Rob. Play the Bulls. They're right there at home. But no, I mean, man, UIC's, they are no joke. And here's what they'll do. They're going to guard you, man. They are going to get on you. And Southern saw that firsthand. They are not scared. And they're going that glass. They're not worried about getting beat on a fast break. Because the ball's going to end up in their hands most of the times. They're a fun team to watch.
They are really fun to watch, and that will be one, no doubt, that we are scoreboard watching. I would love to say that we will be watching it, but we'll be in the middle of our game with the Redbirds here on Tuesday. Again, just big games all throughout the league. Man, this league is really good, folks. Just watch those other games, and you'll see some really good talent within the Missouri Valley Conference, and it's just like that each and every week in this league, and each and every night there are Valley games. Okay, let's switch over to Illinois State. Again, we do not have an interview this week as we get ready for Illinois State, mostly just a short turnaround, and just played Saturday, travel day today for the Saluki. So also don't want to put the Redbirds in that spot as well. So they've had a little bit more time because their last game was Wednesday at Murray State. So they had the weekend off. That was their bye. So now they'll welcome in the Salukis here on Tuesday. And we kind of touched up on it in our last podcast for them. What's interesting for them is Johnny Kinziger came off the bench, their most recent game. Skunberg was out due to health. They said it was like a flu or illness, so expect him to be back. Man, Skunberg's been playing really well here in recent games, Coach Watson. To me, he's been, along with Chase Walker. I mean, Chase Walker, of course, preseason player of the year in the league, but I don't think it can go unnoticed, the play of Skunberg. And then you mix in, man, their freshmen, Tyreek Coleman and Mason Claybo have been really good as well.
Skunberg is really shooting that three well, man. His numbers are really playing out that he can stretch the defense. But the thing that I love about Skunberg, when we got to see him play again, got to see him play against Southern in North Dakota. We played North Dakota State, but that guy is so active. He is so active on every play. He's a loose ball guy. His hands are in it. He's going to hip check you. He's not going to say excuse me at all. And then you throw skill on top of it. He's a huge part of it. And most likely when everyone describes, and let's cross our fingers we don't come up with it, when they describe that nasty flu that's going around or whatever that virus is, it's not fun. My kids had it, and there's no fun for them. So wish him well and all that because he's a big factor. But, man, Claybo's a guy that I was just not – as a guy that phrase, we had strong hate for the Redbirds back in our day in a very competitive way. I hate to see them have one more good player and a guy like Claybo. He is a real factor. Someone we didn't talk much about, Tyreek Coleman, we talked a lot about, and he's delivered. Not only is Tyreek Coleman good when he came in, he's been good throughout the season. You talk about a guy that they can count on. Really impressive. Chase Walker is what he is. Kinziger come off the bench, but he played starter minutes at 29 minutes in the game. Here's a stat that's really impressive, and Southern knows it, and they got to deal with this. They held a terrific three-point shooting team, 4 of 22 from three at their home building. You can say what you want. Being on the road shooting is one thing, and good shooters are going to make shots anywhere, but you really make them at home. 4 of 22 in their building over 40 minutes. Golly, that is impressive. 19 of 38 inside the arc, which is right at 50%. But Illinois State is doing very much what Southern's doing. They are guarding that three-point line throughout the season. And that was a hard-earned win and a big win for a confidence factor and a belief factor that Illinois State picked up in their last outing at Murray State.
one of the biggest improvements for this Illinois State program has been their defense, and I don't think it's any secret, Coach Watson. I think an area for them that, it was good a year ago too. They were 13th in the country in terms of their defensive rebounding percentage. That's an area that Coach Jacobson says in his program they really keep an eye on. Ryan Peden's group, they are 5th in the country right now, according to KenPom, in their defensive rebound percentage. They don't give teams very many opportunities to get second chances, and there is a whole lot of green on their defensive side when you look at their metrics on KenPom. And there's a lot of green on Southern side too. I mean, that's what's a kind of funny. I don't know if funny is the right word for me to use. It's probably a bad word for me to use. Like, these are two good defensive teams on paper that are going to play here on Tuesday in CEFCU Arena.
Yeah, that the defensive rebounding is an area where obviously Southern's got to pick things up, and it's, when you hear me talk a lot about rebounding mainly because of Rich Herron. Rich Herron was just he 40 some years ago, he explained to me just how important rebounding was. And he was talking without having all these fancy numbers and possession talk and all that. He just knew, just to go back to yesteryear, he would talk about in college, they played one-on-one every day before practice. And the influence of that in rebounding was, in one-on-one, you can't give away a second shot or you're going to get beat. So that was a big part of Rich. When I was a high school coach at Madison High School, they played it. Our kids didn't have a lot, man. And so in their neighborhood, they had one basket and usually one ball. And they played a game called bucket, also known as 21. And if you want the ball, if you want to play in that game, if you want to be a part of it, if you want to win that game against 5, 10, sometimes 20 different people on that court, you got to rebound. And Illinois State's giving up less than 8 offensive rebounds. They're holding their opponent in the league in 11 games to a -30 in offensive rebounds. It's an obvious factor. You talk about the defensive rebounding factor. That's what they're doing. That's where it shows up. When you see such a big discrepancy, regardless of what percentages say, just go to the cumulative stats in conference play, go the offensive rebound side, regardless of what their number, even though their number is pretty impressive, they're getting 10 a game. And that's UIC stuff, Southern Illinois. You're about to see an offensive rebound ×2 with Illinois State. But on the flip side, man, they do not let you get one. And that's a big part of why their three-point shooting defense is really good and very impressive.
You look at the last 5 games, Coach Watson, and as we have said, you got Bolden Scumberg, who didn't play against Murray State, but Scumberg and Walker, those two together, 32 points combined, 16 points each over the last 5 games. And even then, that distribution, you just continue to go down and you look at what this team is doing. Man, they do get a lot of quality shots, and no doubt the 3-point shot for them is an important one. And that's why, for the Redbirds, defending that 3, which is what Southern's done a good job of, that should give you some optimism going into this game, as if the Salukis can force Illinois State to beat them elsewhere. They have shown the ability to do that this year, but that's going to be a key part of this game here on Tuesday night.
Got to clean up those defensive boards, Luke. I mean, that's where a statistic, and I love our statistic. It's legit, 28% from 3. But what's not legit is our defensive rebounding, and that's where those two things just fit hand in glove. I mean, people, it is like my point about the offense defense coordinator thing in college basketball. I think. Man, I'll tell you what, coaches are trusting people with their mortgage and health insurance and pension way more than I ever would. Because in football, you have 85 people, 100 people, whatever on your team. So you have offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, special team people, all that stuff, and they have to have voice. And it's different in football. Nick Hill can't coach 100 people. He can't micromanage 100 parts of the game. But special teams are different, and offense is different. Defense is different. In basketball, offense, rebounding, and defense are one thing all the time. It's one. There is no rebounding coordinator. There is the offensive coordinator, defensive thing, fine. You guys can be locked in more on that. That's cool. But everything works together. Our defense is only going to be as good as our rebounding. Our offense is only going to be as good as our rebounding. our defense is only going to be as good as our offense, and vice versa. All three are meshed together in this sport. It's not three different entities like in college football. It's just that's the part that I think we might be outthinking ourselves on this thing. It's one. Sure, we can brag about our defensive percentages and 3 points, and we deserve it. It's only going to be as good as our defensive rebounding. I mean, it's just like, and that's why the people that just clicked off when I was going on that one deal about how close it is, they're seeing that. It's like, yeah, you can talk that number all you want, but the bottom line is we give second, third, fourth, fifth shots back. And that's where Illinois State will stay at the top. That's why UIC will be a problem throughout the rest of the league. That's why Belmont, they know how to get those possessions.
Well, Illinois State will be hosting SIU on Tuesday night inside SAFQ Arena as the Salukis hit the road again. And we talk about the big week for UIC. Well, guess what? SIU, the two teams they play this week, are also top 100 in KenPom with Illinois State and Murray State. So tremendous opportunity this week for the Salukis to try to build some positive momentum. And again, SIU is still with a lot of games here left down the stretch in Missouri Valley Conference play, and it starts Tuesday night against Illinois State. Big thank you, Saluki Nation, for tuning into our podcast this week. We will have another one for you as we get ready for Murray State on Friday, which, again, Mike Glenn, Jersey Retirement Night, heard so much from people in the community. It's going to be a great crowd, Ag Night, etc., always on Friday, and we'll look to that and dive into that more come Friday for the Salukis and Racers. But first things first, it's the Salukis and Redbirds round 2 here between these two teams on Tuesday night. Our pregame radio coverage will begin at 5 o'clock with tip at 6. For the Hall of Famer, Rodney Watson and Luke Martinson. So long, Saluki Nation. Until Tuesday night from SAFQ Arena. Go Dogs.
This has been Saluki Royalty, the official podcast for Saluki Athletics. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review however you listen. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.